So I want to welcome you. My name is Lindsay Vining. I'm the Director of Systems and Accountability here at Pivot Charter School. I want to thank you for coming to our virtual information night. And we're going to go over, who is Pivot Charter School? What is our program like? And I know you guys probably have a lot of questions because we are a unique program for students. And so we want to answer all the questions that you might have. So the presentation will be short. It'll be around probably 15-20 minutes or so, and then we'll open it up to you guys toward the end. Once again, it's going to be recorded. It's being recorded right now, and we are going to share the recording for those who weren't able to make it tonight, just so that you are aware. And before I get started into my presentation, we're going to show you a quick video so you can see kind of the students in action.
Having a choice in schools was really critical for me because I had a few bad experiences in the previous school. I wanted to find a school where I didn't have the problems I had before.
Pivot is special to me because you can come into the Resource Center and I can have friends because homeschooling can be a very lonely process.
Before I came down here to go to Pivot, I was struggling like a lot because the teachers in the traditional school, they really wouldn't help you as much. But at Pivot, at break time, the teachers interact with the students, they play frisbee golf with them.
I chose Pivot because it was something different. It was obviously a unique learning system, and that's how I learn. I don't learn like other students do. Feeling like I'm part of this small little community, it makes me feel really good about myself.
The teachers are amazing. What I love is that you can communicate with them 24/7.
They're very hands-on and they're very caring. They do have a great sense of humor as well, which makes them very relatable, and it just makes it a great experience to be around them. It's opened up so many different possibilities for me having this flexible time here. I've really seen an improvement in myself.
My name is Nathan Klickner and I'm a proud Pivot student.
My name is Chloe Schweikert and I'm a proud Pivot student.
My name is Nazir and I'm a proud Pivot student.
My name is Ebony Davis and I'm a proud Pivot student.
My name is Madison and I'm a proud Pivot student.
Awesome. So those are some of our teachers and students in action. And we want you to be able to see that in addition to the presentation to answer your questions. So as a reminder, if questions come up, and they always come up kind of in the middle of things, feel free to just throw them in the chat, and so that you don't worry about trying to remember them at the end, and then we'll get to them at the end. So please utilize that chat for your questions as we go through the presentation. All right, so we're going to go through, who we are, who we serve, why, people choose Pivot, some frequently asked questions that we've gotten in the past. I'll just cover those for your guys' information. And then at the end, I'll give you the information on how to enroll. So in attendance today, again, my name is Lindsay Vining. I'm the Director of Systems and Accountability here. Jana Gaskell's on as well, our Executive Director, Creed Polson, our Director of Student Services, and Teresa House, our Program Coordinator. And we're all here to answer your questions, or just to show you guys, some of the people that your students would interact with. So what is Pivot Charter School? We are a tuition-free, fully accredited charter school. We're a public school, so we're funded just like the traditional schools, around the corner from your house. We're WASC accredited, and we're also a charter school, which gives us some flexibility in how we run our program. We're also an independent study school that provides a distance learning model, but also a hybrid blended learning model that allows students to come in person to the school, but also work from home. An independent study means that there's a lot of responsibility put on the student to get their work done. Although all of our teachers are fully credentialed and we cover all of the subject areas with our staffing, it's not like a traditional school where the teachers give the content like a lecture style, and then the students, respond to that. Students really take the reins in their education at our school. And our support from our teachers was provided both virtually and in person, and we'll go through that in a little bit. So who do we serve? We are a small organization. We have 4 different schools. We have one that we call North Bay, that's in Santa Rosa in Sonoma County. North Valley, which is in Chico, which is Butte County. We have one in Riverside and one in San Diego. And there's a resource center at each of these locations. We're very, very small. The Riverside and San Diego schools are both K through 12 with around 150 students total, K through 12. The North Valley School serves middle and high school and is around 100 students. And then the North Bay School, which is our largest school, which is K through 12, also only has about 400 students, which is really not a lot. So we like to keep our environment small so that we can provide the individualized support for our students. If you're curious which pivot your student would go to, you can look at the counties for which they serve, and you need to reside in that county in order for us to have you enrolled at our school. The types of students that typically enroll at Pivot Charter School, they come from a variety of paths, but they usually have one thing in common, which is the traditional school environment just wasn't working for their situation. And so that might be that they need credit recovery. That might be that they're actually on an accelerated path. We have a lot of students that just find it difficult being in a large traditional school setting, especially our high school students. You know, high schools nowadays are in the thousands of students large. And we have, you know, like 100 or like hundreds of students in the high school program, even less. So they find that comforting. So we provide that for them. We also give flexibility in scheduling. Because we're an independent study program, you don't have to go to school, you know, from like 8 to 3 or whatever times that the local schools have. You can do your schoolwork on the schedule for what that works for you. So we have students, you know, with sleeping schedules that maybe are less traditional, or students at work, or if you have medical reasons kind of preventing you from doing a full, you know, 8 to 3 nonstop. We also have families that travel. And so this flexibility really works for them in their schedule. If you have a elementary student, we like to say we're more of a homeschool program because the parent really is involved. We have our curriculum online, and it's the kids in elementary school really need some support at home to be able to work through it. So if you have an elementary age student and you're looking at our school, imagine that you'd be very involved and it'd be more like a homeschool with the support of our curriculum, our credentialed teachers, but you would be working with your student, you know, at home, working through the curriculum. So why choose Pivot Charter School? There's, you know, there's many options, alternative school options for families, but all the schools, you know, have different types of programs. So I'm going to go into kind of what is unique about our program and what we focus on specifically. Our students take regular diagnostic assessments 3 times a year in both reading and math. That gives us, you know, a really good indication of what the students need to be successful in school. And in addition to those diagnostic assessments, it creates an individualized remediation plan and instruction for each student. So if they're coming and they have really, really big gaps in their knowledge, then they'll be able to have personalized instruction to fill those gaps as efficiently as possible. It's really hard to be an independent study student at first. And so we want to make sure students have all the skills that they need academically, so that that's not what's preventing them from doing all of their courses on their own. The online curriculum that we use is actually customized by our credentialed teachers as well. So we recognize that the types of students who choose like an independent study or choose a charter school, they need a lot of different types of supports. They can't just like read a bunch of slides and take a bunch of quizzes. And so our credentialed teachers boost the online curriculum and put in more support for the students so that when they're learning on their own, they're watching videos, they're doing online practice, they're reading, they're translating, they're interacting with the curriculum in a more robust way. And the support that we provide for the students, we have virtual support, and I'll talk a little bit about that, and on-site support. So students who are working completely from home are not left out or left behind from the support that the teachers provide. We make sure that you don't have to come to the physical school site to receive the types of support that those students are getting. And our overall, hope and goal, is that we want students to become, independent learners. We think it's really important just kind of in life to be prepared to, be a lifelong learner and also an independent learner. And so when we run our program, we're also helping students in that area. So I spoke about our credentialed teachers, and they are dedicated to a small caseload of 30 students or less. That credentialed teacher we call an EC, educational coordinator, because they're more than just a teacher. They're helping you access the resources that you need, your student need, the entire education, through the entire educational process. So they work one-on-one with you in picking classes and finding tutoring and attending office hours for teachers, getting help for assignments. So they are dedicated to you, and because they have a small caseload of students, they get to know you and your families really well. And then you have this relationship where we work kind of together on the educational path. And that's going to include frequent communication. And sometimes people think it's a lot of communication, and especially when compared to, the level of communication that families are receiving at a more traditional school, where teachers there, have over 150 kids to pay attention to. And so they're not able to provide as frequent of communication, where our teachers only have 30 or so. And so they give you frequent communication, which I've heard from parents, they really enjoy knowing what their student is doing more frequently, and have access to somebody who can provide them with, up-to-date information on their students' progress and also achievements in school. For our middle and high school students, we've developed a block schedule that we found provides the most success for students. At a traditional high school, let's say a student would take 6 classes, and they'd go to, all their 6 classes for the whole semester. And when we had started with that, using an online curriculum, we found that 6 is just a lot to focus on. And so we've built a schedule where we can minimize the number of courses that a student has to focus on at one time. And that way they can really dive into each subject and be successful, because they're spending more focused time in each area. And so the science, social studies, and electives go for 6 weeks. And once you finish, you go to the next, English and math are sometimes tougher for students, so we've elongated those to a 9-week block. And then PE and community service are running in the background. All high school students have a community service requirement at our school. It's currently optional during COVID, but in non-COVID times is a graduation requirement. And we can help you find the community service opportunities, but they have to do 40 hours each school year. We also have built a strong social emotional learning program at our school. We have a very experienced counseling team that addresses the needs of the students and their economic needs. There's small group, one-on-one. There's students who have trouble with anxiety, trouble with motivation. And so our experienced counselors are able to work with students on their academic needs, and then also in their school needs, managing some of those things. All of our credentialed teachers at all of our schools offer virtual office hours, kind of like a college campus where the teacher just has an hour and you can walk right in, but they're virtual. And so they hang on to their Zoom or their Google Meet, and students can come in and ask questions about the subject or the course for which they're in. And that provides a lot of support for students who have questions and need to ask someone specifically for help for those questions. It's not, like a tutoring time, but it does provide another resource for students who need help. We also want to build our school community. So we're continuing field trips, we're continuing clubs. In previous years, we've had dances. I don't know, what that will look like in the spring, but we have students who want to build a social community, and we really foster that. So each resource center has has these opportunities. And so you would work with your teacher, your site administrator, to find out what those are in your area. Oh, sorry, I need a little bit of water. We're building a CTE program. We have many CTE courses because we recognize that not all students go to college, and some students have some career aspirations that they can get started on even while in high school. And so we're building pathways which are targeted to specific careers, but we also have a wide variety of courses that students can take in their interests. So like animal sciences or culinary arts or child development. Students might be interested in those things, and we can get them started learning about them while they're in high school. As I mentioned, we're WASC accredited, and we have a full schedule of A through G courses. So if you're looking to go to a four-year college right out of high school, we can fill all of those requirements at our school. And we offer on-site classes, actual classes that you would come and you would do a class for an hour and a half, twice a week, like an English or a math or another type of course. And we have clubs at our resource centers that you can participate in. We have a majority of high school students, and those high school students have to choose their graduation path. What that allows us to do is customize the course schedule for your student. So if your student says, I know I'm going to go to community college, or I know I'm going to go to a trade school, or I know what I'm going to, just work right out of high school, then we'll put them in what we call the Liberal Arts Academy. It gives them some more flexibility to meet their graduation requirements. If we have a student that says, I know I'm going to a four-year college right out of high school, then they would go in our University Prep Academy, and that would align with the admissions requirements for the Cal State and the UC system. So we can make sure that your student has the best chance of getting into college. So they choose which kind of way they want to go, and that gives them the right kind of choice for coursework as they work through their high school career. Our virtual workshops that I mentioned, those are twice per week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, for all the core subjects. So your English virtual workshop would be, a 9:15 to 10:15. Your math one would be 10:30 to 11:30, and so on and so forth. So you could participate in instruction virtually twice a week for your class. So I put together some of the frequently asked questions that we've gotten over the years that people ask, and so I'll go through those now. We love to hear, oh, it's going to be easier. Will Pivot be easier than traditional school? And for some students it's easier, and for some students it's harder. We know for sure it's just very different. Because we're independent study, it's very different than a traditional school where you go, you sit down, the teacher, lectures for 45 minutes, you do an activity, and then you go to the next class. It's not like that at all. This is, we're going to require students to be self-motivated, to engage in their curriculum and work in their courses on their schedule. Will I know how I'm doing my courses, and can I get help? It is, immediate feedback from the online systems. So you know exactly what your grades are, you know exactly what's going on, what things are due at any time. It doesn't turn off 24/7. And your EC or your teacher will recognize when you're struggling, and they'll reach out to you and try to make a plan to come up with addressing your particular barriers to success. So maybe that's getting you into workshops, maybe that's sending the links for the office hours, maybe that's having you come into the resource center. We have a lot of supports available, and so if you're not, actively asking for help, our teachers are going to recognize when you need help and start to work with you to come up with ways to get you back on track. How is attendance counted, and when am I considered absent? So this is unique to our school, the way we do attendance. At a traditional school, you just physically show up and they count you as present for the day. In independent study, you have to not only show up, but you also have to do work. So logging in is not enough to get attendance at Pivot Charter School. So you have to log in each school day to your online curriculum, and you have to actually do something in order to be counted as present for attendance. And just like, traditional schools, we count attendance and we keep track. And if you have many absences, there is potential for truancy. And, if you have too much truancy, this might not, be the right school program, because we want you to graduate. So you got to do your work. So we just tell students, just log in every day and complete work every day, and you will be good every school day. How much does Pivot cost? People think, oh, charter school, you have to pay. No, we are a publicly funded charter school. So we are funded with the state funding, just like a traditional school. So we are tuition free. You don't pay anything to come. Are you able to work completely from home? Yes, you are able, but it doesn't mean that every student is successful when they work from home. Some do need kind of that face-to-face check-in with teachers, accountability wise. And sometimes working from home is hard because you have to have a dedicated place to work. You need it to be fairly quiet. You need, a desk or a table that doesn't have a bunch of stuff all over it. You can't work in your bed. So if you're thinking about working from home, you want to think about, well, where at home am I going to work, and make sure that it's a good space for you to get some work done. But if you're doing well in independent study and you're making progress and you're, getting through your courses and you're not behind, then you can continue to work from home and nobody will ask you to do anything different. What do you need? Really, we provide, the curriculum and everything that you would need, but to access it, you need the internet, and you need an internet capable device, preferably a laptop or a Chromebook. We have had students, work on phones or tablets. It's very, very difficult. So if you have a Chromebook or a laptop, then that's going to be the most successful for you. The school does have Chromebooks that can be lent out to you if you do not have one, and you would just talk to your the site coordinator about that upon enrollment. What if my student's behind in their grade level skills? So as I mentioned, everybody, when they first enroll, they're going to take a diagnostic assessment, and that's going to tell us if the student has gaps in their knowledge, and then potentially a remediation plan will be made for them that they will do while they're doing their coursework. We want to make sure that they have the skills that they need to do the coursework at their level. And so every student participates in this program. How much time will I be on the computer? This one comes up a lot, and there really is no magic number. So what I like to tell families is that, one, it really depends on the age of the student. Kindergartners really don't need to be on the computer very much. They have a lot of worksheets that get printed, and they do them by hand with their parents, and they scan them in. But a high schooler is going to be on the computer a lot more, because a lot of their curriculum is engaging, watching videos, reading, and things like that on the computer. You want to anticipate engaging in your coursework for the same amount of time that you would be in school. Now, that doesn't mean you're on the computer the whole time, but that's how you want to imagine you're going to be engaged in your schoolwork. So if you're a really efficient student, that could be like 4 hours, 5 hours. But for some students, they need longer. They need longer time to really absorb the material and do their assignments. And so it could be longer than that. It could be 7 or 8 hours a day. But, out of traditional school, you are in school full day. So you need to anticipate being engaged with our curriculum for a full day as well. So that's the end of the presentation. I'm gonna encourage you to ask questions, even if you think they're silly, because we want to make sure that we're the right fit for your family. There's a lot of options out there for school, and students are looking for the best fit for them. And we want to make sure that you have the best sense of who we are and how we can serve you and your family. So please, please, please ask your questions, and you can type them into the chat. And then as I'm going to do that, I'm going to leave this screen up. These are the 4 different school sites, and I put the counties that they serve and the grade levels that they serve and the websites for each one. And then also the contact information for each school site. So these are the site coordinators. They'll help you with enrollment. They'll answer any questions that you have about the kind of the paperwork side of the school. But we're here now to help answer any questions you have about the Pivot program, about what students go through. So we want to make sure we're here for that. So I'll leave that up. And then I'm gonna ask Sarah to look at the chat for me. Sarah, are there any questions in the chat?
Yeah, we have one. I'll go ahead and read it. It says, does a student's EC stay with him or her throughout the time at Pivot, or does your EC change with your grade level?
Oh, that's a really good question. That could be in the frequently asked questions. That's a good one. So we have dedicated elementary ECs. So when your student's in elementary school, they'll stay with the same teacher. The schools that serve elementary students have about 30 elementary students, so they just stay with their one teacher, and unless that teacher leaves, they'll be with that teacher for the whole time. And then in 6th grade, they would switch. We would switch them to because of the credentialing and everything. We'd switch them to a new teacher at 6th. And for some sites, we do have some teachers who serve more middle, and then some who serve more high school. But we typically like to keep siblings with the same EC, and we like to keep students with the same EC as much as possible. The only time that might change is sometimes we have a request, like for example, we have students who would prefer to work with a certain gender of teacher based on their experience or their their feelings from things that have happened in the past. So maybe we've made some switches there. And of course, if staff leave or we hire new staff, there'll be some switches sometimes, but we try our very best to keep the ECs the same, except for when you go to 5th to 6th, and then you change for sure. But we do try to keep you guys together unless there's a request for a new teacher.
We have another question. It is, do you serve students with an IEP?
Yep. So we do, and we would wish I could if you want to talk to our director of special education to kind of get a sense of what having an IEP at Pivot would be like. She loves to talk to families who are interested in making the change to Pivot. But just so you know, when you enroll at a new school, there's going to be a 30-day interim IEP where you'll go over your IEP that you had at another school, and then what that would look like at Pivot Charter School. We are a very different program than a traditional school. So sometimes the services, the lengths of the services, or types of services could potentially change, but those would be things that you could talk to our director of special education. Her name is Tracy Williams about. So if that's you and you'd like to get in touch with her, then you can put your name. I have your guys' emails and phone numbers from the registration, but you could let us know in the chat and I could send your information to her if you would like to talk to her.
That was the last question from the chat.
That's it? That can't be all the questions.
Oh, one more just came up.
Okay.
Do you have to have a school referral to enroll?
Nope. So if you're interested, because we're a school of choice, you get to choose to come to our school. If you are interested, how the process would work is that you would stay at your current school. What you don't want is to withdraw from your current school and then there's time and then you're at our school, because we don't want a gap. So you would stay at your school, you would talk to the site coordinator, who's the person listed on this screen right now, and then they would walk you through the application. You have to do birth certificate, stuff like that you have to, proof of residence that you always have to do when you go to a new school. And then once that's all confirmed, then they would request your records from your previous school, and then you could withdraw from your current school and say, I'm going to pivot. And then we could have a quick and easy transition, but you don't have to get a referral or anything. But we don't want you to like leave if you're in a school right now. So that's another thing I wanted to say is we want to make sure you're enrolled at our school so that you don't have a gap. Awesome. Any other last minute questions?
Nothing in the chat so far. Don't be shy though. Oh, we got another one. Do students have some kind of interaction? Do they typically know each other?
I will answer this in a variety of situations. So the students who come to the site, the physical resource center, I have noticed build friendships very quickly. They typically don't really know each other because we can serve students in the full county, plus the county the counties that are around that county, which is a very large physical area. It's not like all the students who come to us are from the same school. So not too frequently do the students actually really know each other, but they build friendships really quickly because they kind of have in common that they're like it wasn't really working out at their other school. So I have seen very, very close relationships built with the students in person who come regularly to the resource centers. We've now expanded that with our virtual workshops, and it's harder to kind of have that connection virtually, but we've really encouraged it, and especially the students who are participating in some of the small groups. Like we have small groups with the counseling team, and we have small groups with other teams. They really get to know each other pretty well, and so they're able to build relationships there. But typically, from my experience, not a lot of the students actually know each other when they come to our school. So it's not like, and from my experience, they're very welcoming of all people. And one of my favorite things is walking in and the students actually don't know like, what grade are you? Like, they don't know what grade they're in. Like, everyone's just in the same place, doing the same thing. And there's no like natural separation based on anything. So it really works out. It's a really great environment for that. Hope I answered that question. That was the intent of the question.
No
And another
questions in the chat.
All right, another thing I want to mention too is we really encourage the students to take advantage of all the field trip opportunities that we do at our school sites. And if you're looking to kind of be part of a small school community, not like a big overwhelming one because we're very small, going to those field trips, being in those clubs, going to site, you're going to be part of the school, and people will know you and know your name, and it'll be a really welcoming, friendly place to be. Also, because we are so small, not a lot really like gets by us. So, we really keep it on, keep the kindness on lock. We keep the welcome, atmosphere. It's really important to keep that. So, because there's so few of them, we're able to make sure that it's a positive place to be. So we're very proud of that. Awesome.
There's one more actually.
Okay.
Let's see. If we are looking to switch, could we move now, or do we need to wait until after the winter break?
Oh, that's a very good question. So we enroll anytime, but I want you to make a strategic decision for you and your student. So if you are in high school and you leave the other school before finals, then you will not get, I'd be surprised if you got full credit. You'd have to finish till the finals to get your credit. Now, if you enrolled at Pivot, what you would do is you would get drop grades, and the teachers would say, student did 90% of the class with a B or whatever grade you have, but they won't give you the credit. You would have to finish, for example, the last 10% at Pivot in order to get your credit or your 5 credit. And we have ways to be able to make sure that you just do a little bit and then you can get the full credit. So if you're really close to finals time, it's probably cleaner, better to do the finals, close out that class and then come to our school, and then you're like on a fresh start. Doesn't mean you have to. And if you're worried you're going to fail your finals and you don't want a bunch of F's, then you could just leave now. But I want you to be really thoughtful about that transition time. We'll take you anytime, but it's what you're leaving behind, and we want you to be careful about. If you're in K-8, so if you're in elementary or middle school, because you're not getting credits towards graduation, the drop grades is fine. It doesn't really matter when you come over, but it's the high schoolers that you want to be just think like, about the finals, about getting your full 5 credits on your transcript before you come over. Because like one example would be if you're in a class and at a school right now, like I'll just use welding because I got an email about welding that's doing welding. Well, we don't have welding. So if you leave that school, you won't get any credit for welding because we can't give you the last 10% or last percent of welding. So just want to be strategic about it. Now, if you're nervous about that, you can contact me. My email is lvining. It's like my name, but my first initial Vining at pivotchart.org. And we can have somebody look at your transcript and tell you, or talk to you about your specific situation so you don't lose out on the transition.
Another question,
Okay.
if my child is struggling in a particular area, will the EC reach out to me and keep me informed?
Yes. I guess I don't know the particular area, but academically, yes, they'll know right away. Behaviorally, yes, although it's harder to tell with the virtual stuff, but we try to keep you on it. We try to inform families of anything that we know about. So I guess it really depends, like when you say area, I'm assuming you mean academically, but we've really learned that there's a lot of facets to a human being, and academics is just one small piece of that. But we try to, address and support like the whole person, and we keep the families in the loop a lot. So yeah, you will know whatever we know.
Another one came in. If your student tests below grade level on the assessment testing, how will that impact their classes?
Good question. That depends how low. So we'll use English as an example. So if you have a high school student and they're scoring in the elementary level of English, we would not put them in the high school level of English. They would be in a different English support course to build their skills before they're put in high school English. It's already hard enough to do high school English if you don't have high school English skills. So doing it online on your own is even harder. So it really depends how low they are. Now, for students who are just a little bit low and it's not going to impact the success that they're going to have in the coursework, then they would do just a little bit of remediation practice kind of like on the side to build those skills while they're doing the regular class. So yeah, it really depends like how many gaps there are, but we do have a program that will identify them, and you would be in consultation, of course. We're not going to just like change classes and not tell anybody, but for students who are really low, we don't want to just throw them in a class that's going to be too hard. That's no fun for anybody. So we do have options for courses if the right class isn't the right class.
Another question, do you guys provide meals?
That's a great question. So we provide, I'll call them meals, but they're not like hot lunch. It's not like hot meals. There is food. It's like, a grain, a milk, a fruit. I don't know the specifics of it, but like a grab and go. So it's not hot, but it is food, and it has all the things, a variety of items included in it. and you can pick those up from the resource center. We don't want, students aren't at the resource center all day. They're usually there only a couple hours. So either you can come early and eat early, or you can grab it on your way out. And then that way, you know, you're not eating like at the school because you're only there a little bit. So you can plan your schedule around when you want to eat it, or just bring it home.
That was the last one in the chat.
Okay. I knew there were more questions. Those were all really great questions. Those are all excellent questions. If you have any more, and I just realized I should probably put my email on here, but you can email me. It follows the construct you see on the slide. L for Lindsay, Vining @pivotcharter.org. You can also email pivot@pivotcharter.org, and that will also go to me, and I can kind of forward it to the appropriate person. You know, if you get off and you're like, go ahead and email either me personally or pivot@pivotcharter.org, and we'll make sure you get your questions answered. None of our schools are on a wait list currently, which isn't always the case. Sometimes we have a wait list. So it is open enrollment. But that's not always guaranteed. So just wanted to let you guys know that we are currently open at all of our school sites.
Kareen was kind enough to put your email in the chat. So if anyone wanted to see that, it's in the
Thank you, Kareen. I can always count on Kareen. I appreciate you. Wonderful. So it's in the chat. So grab it if you have any questions. We appreciate you guys taking your time. We know, it's dinner time. It's, after work time. But hopefully you got a good sense of the type of school that we operate. You can always call any of these people on here and ask to stop by. We'll obviously want to know you're coming. You don't want to just show up unannounced, surprise. But just let us know you'd like to see the actual resource center, or you can meet our staff there. Everybody's really friendly and really excited to meet with families. So so feel free to do that if you are interested. Awesome. Great. Well, thank you guys very much. This will be recorded if you want to show, someone who wasn't able to attend tonight. And yeah, that's it. We hope you have a great night, and thank you very much.
Please expect an email in your inboxes so if you want some more information on how to move forward with enrollment too.
Yes, you'll get some more information. Thank you guys.